What does the 40th anniversary of the 76 Soweto Student Uprisings mean to black journalists? And what were the key challenges faced by black reporters and photographers at the time? How did black journalists deal with the regime's attempts to suppress the media? And why was veteran photographer Peter Magubane put in solitary confinement? What time is it? It's question time. Welcome to Question Time. My name is Mpho Tsedu. The country marked the 40th anniversary of the 16 June 1976 Soweto Student Uprisings last week. These turbulent events had to be reflected on newspapers, with print media having been very popular at the time. Most reports are said to have been based on witness accounts of black reporters written by office-bound white employees. These journalists embraced black consciousness and sympathized with the struggle of black students against Bantu Education and the use of Afrikaans as a medium of instruction. Several journalists were arrested, with one of the photographers at the time, Peter Magubane, put in solitary confinement for 586 days. As part of his collection of pictures from the 1976 riots, Peter Magubane launched a book titled June 16. 40th Anniversary Edition last week. We are live, and therefore you can call us and air your views. The numbers to dial 089-110-4210. Our Twitter handle is @QuestionTime24. My guest, the veteran photographer himself, Dade Peter Magubane, and from our Devon studios we're expecting to be joined by Duma Gandlovu, who was a young journalist at the time. Dade Magubane, welcome to Question Time.
Thank you.
Well, we are really blessed, and we thank God that you're still with us, still going strong. Are you still a photographer?
Very much.
Okay.
Very much.
All right.
I am doing. I'm doing projects. I'm not doing news anymore.
All right.
I'm doing two projects. One is Afrikaans yesterday and today.
Okay.
And the other project is sunsets. You know, when that beautiful girl walks towards the clouds and disappears, that's when I click my shutter.
Okay.
I've got that beautiful girl called Untshona Langa.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what you're busy with.
That's what I'm busy on now.
Okay. Now, June 16 obviously is what really, one would say, changed your life as a photographer, and how you had to start doing your job at the time. 40th Anniversary Edition, the book is out, but the pictures, I mean, I remember seeing these pictures from a very early age. They are still as crystal as they were.
Well, I believe in recording. I believe in keeping history. I'm a documentarian. The newspapers that I worked for also knew that I was just not working for day to day. I am a history-making photographer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are your recollections of 16 June?
I met youngsters the day before June 16 who told me that they will be marching to the stadium on the 16th.
Okay.
And I made sure that on the 16th, just before sunrise, I am outside the police station, Orlando Police Station,
Okay.
to see what was going on. I saw police come in. When the police came in, I then got into my car. I drove right into the township to see what was happening.
And
the police were chasing children around, shooting. I got there with my camera. I was told to F off.
yes.
Otherwise they will kill me. Now, I do not believe in being threatened. I am doing my work. I told the man I was doing my work.
Were you on assignment?
Yes, I was working for the Rand Daily Mail then.
At the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I knew that the Rand Daily Mail was looking out for me.
Okay.
They will give me their fullest support. Whatever happens to me, they will support me.
Okay, hold it there. Let's talk to somebody who was a very young journalist at the time. We don't know if he was on assignment on the day, because he was just a militant youth at the same time, but also a reporter. Dumagandlov, welcome, Kachin.
Baba, thank you, but Paul, and a warm greeting to my mentor and my political teacher, Ubra Pedro, Peter Magubane, yes, and to your viewers as well.
I'm telling the truth. You were a young journalist
I was 21.
And what were you doing, running after stories that would get you away from home?
Well, I was approached by a group of students on Sunday the 13th, who basically told me that there was going to be something big on Wednesday. They said that I should make sure that I am there. And I think I'm one of the very, very few journalists who had been pre-warned. But when I got to work, my editor had different ideas, and he assigned me to the opening of the Orlando Children's Home, which was on the same day, June 16. But fortunately, it was not very far from Orlando West High or Orlando High School. So I went that morning to Orlando, the opening of the Children's Home, until around 10 o'clock, when literally all hell broke loose in Soweto. And I called the office from the Orlando Home, and they told me to leave the Orlando Home and go straight to Orlando West High, where thousands and thousands of students were going crazy, and there were police, there was smoke, there was tear gas, and the rest, as they say, is history.
But well, you can afford to call Peter Magubane Brapita. I can't. Like Peter here said, this was to obviously change your career in a way, because soon after that, did you eventually file? Actually, let's start there.
Well, I ran around loose for the next month or so because I was filing quite a lot of stories. But also with another young man who was my age called Jan Tugwana, who worked with Brapita, we were more than journalists because we also were part of this student collective. And I think in a kind of a way, we were part of the student movement because we helped them with their press releases. We were the ones who had to make sure that we took them to hiding places. We rented cars, we took them around, we raised money for them. So we were really part of the student collective. And I think, in a way, the police ended up finding this out. Brapita, Gabu Tugwana, and myself were to be arrested sometime end of July, mid to end of July, and we were taken for preventive detention because the police wanted to take us out. So all of us spent the rest of the year in detention, and while other journalists continued the work of of covering the uprisings.
But Magubane, I'm very young, but I was around during apartheid struggles. So I also did some time in solitary confinement under the Internal Security Act as well. But I only did 10 days, you know. You did 586.
Yes.
I'm wondering, how did you come out still normal?
When I became a photographer and I photographed the struggle, I had made up my mind that I am prepared to die for whatever I am doing. Mm. Now, June 16, 1976, my brothers were being harassed by the police for voicing their grievances against the education department. Mm. I said to myself, If this is not covered photographically, it is not covered. Pictures tell a good story. No one can argue with a picture. Mm-hmm. All my pictures were sent overseas for the world to see how apartheid operates.
Yeah, but didn't prison break you?
No. I told myself that there are people who are rotting in Robben Island. Who am I?
Yeah, but at least they were with comrades. You know, they were not locked up in some little cell alone forever.
No, I was not going to cry because I am in solitary confinement. I told myself that the Lord walks with me. Wherever I am, the Lord is there with me, and the Lord will look after me.
Katsheni, what are the untold stories of June 16?
The untold stories of June 16, part of what Peter is saying, the resilience of the black community, the massive support that the families gave to the young people. There was a revolution, and most of us were seeing a revolution for the first time. As the children were running around and the police were chasing them, there was another story in the evening when the police went from house to house looking for the student leadership, when there was a quilt, a blanket of black society that took care of those children, that hid them, that fed them, that supported them, and that eventually took most of them out to join the liberation movements. One can safely say that Naupra Peter was one of the leaders of the underground movement. I mean, when we were in jail, he took me under his wing, and I was literally his student. But he represented the kinds of older people who showed us the example of what to be done. And there were millions of people like him who took care of the revolution. June 16 would not have happened if the black society was not receptive of the children and their message. And I think it's because the students came sounding a different voice that time. They were saying, if our parents had been a little bit weak before, we're going to be strong and we're going to turn this thing around. And that's why June 16, or that's why the revolution or the resistance lasted as long as it did.
Okay, hold it there. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll take up your calls on 08911042110. This is Question Time. Please don't go away.
There is a sign for perfectionism. There's a sign for goosebumps. Something that symbolizes more performance. A sign for a special mindset. There is a sign for everything we stand for. Audi Sport, born on the track. Built for the road. Join the League of Performance.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. Our guests today are the veteran photographer Peter Magubane, and Dumagandlovu, who is also joining us from our Devon studios. But Magubane, this book, the 40th anniversary edition of June 16, for somebody who hasn't seen what's in there, why should they go out and get a copy?
If people are interested in their country, they are interested in what happened in their country, there is no way they will miss this book, because this book talks about history. The children of June 16 changed the system in this country, made it possible for us to get freedom. The world began to see that something was wrong, something was happening in South Africa, and therefore these people need help.
Okay.
The people on Robben Island saw what was happening outside. They told themselves that we would rather die here to support those children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold it there. Prince, you are in Newcastle. Welcome.
Morning, Po. Sorry, afternoon, Po.
Evening is okay.
I just want to ask Magubane Mr.
Nokacheni, yes.
Ukuthi mhlambe around ama-issues afana nabo tsietsi mashinini nabo Vuyo Makhubu bagcina pho nokwa-check-a lawo ma-issues khona umkhondo abanawo bagcine kwenzakalini ngaloba nemndeni.
Okay. Asibonga kakhulu ba Prince lapho in Newcastle. And well, I know you heard him clearly, but my viewers also speak English or understand English, so I have to try and translate what he said, which is basically to say around the issues of June and the leaders, Tsietsi Mashinini and Vuyo Makhubu. What do you know about those two? Are there any leads towards, perhaps with regards to Tsietsi, what caused his death, and with Vuyo, where he is? Let me start with you, Duma. Have you heard anything on that?
Well, I think case Tsietsi was widely publicized. He died in 1990 in Liberia. In Guinea, he lived with Miriam Makeba. And he was repatriated, and he was buried in Soweto. So I really don't think that there is any issue around the issue of Tsietsi Mashinini. About 2-3 years ago, a man showed up in Canada, not showed up in Canada, a story came up in Canada that somebody had been incarcerated in Canada for the last 8 years, and they suspected that it is Mbuyisa Makhubu. I was personally approached by his family to try and make representation to ask if we can get any help for him to be brought back to South Africa. We are busy in negotiations about that. I know that I had a small role to play. The family does believe very firmly that the man who is in Canada, still in jail, is Mbuyisa Makhubu. And I'm hopeful that in not so distant future, we will see him coming back home. The reality is that he doesn't seem to be well. I'm not sure, I'm not a medical doctor, I can't speak too much, but suspicions are that he is not very well psychologically, but there are plans to bring him back home. He's still alive, he's in prison in Canada.
Kacheni, perhaps whilst we're still on this matter of Mbuyisa, how difficult were the days of exile as a result of June 16?
Mpho, I look at my son right now, who's 22. I'm very protective of him. And immediately when a question comes, if would I allow him to go and study overseas, I get scared. Now I'm talking about somebody going to study under the protective watch of his parents and being paid for and all those kinds of things. Imagine somebody who's 18, 19, 20, who is forced to leave their country. He has no support structure whatsoever. He's on his own out there. Of course with his comrades, of course with the liberation movements, but the reality is that you are on your own. In whatever conditions that you find yourself under, all those conditions are very subjective and they are very strange. So the conditions were extremely difficult, which is why some of them did not make it back. Some of them made it back, but they were no longer very well. And some of us made it back, and I'm not even sure that we can say that we are in a well state of being as far as psychologically, because of the traumas that we went through outside. So people at home continued to be subjected to the abuses and the violence of the white government, and we outside were subjected to all kinds of different conditions in exile.
Well, people thought you were having fun in America, eh?
Wow, I'm not sure if you can call it that. You know, you had to make sure that you focused. You had to make sure that you understood why you left, so that when you came back, you could continue to contribute to the well-being of South Africa. And I think that's the difference between some of the people that went outside and came back. You can see those who were focused. You can see that those that had an agenda. And there are some, of course, some of us who lost the focus and came back a little bit delirious and not understanding what our mandate was.
But Magubane, whilst other people went to exile, those of you who remained in the country really paid the price as well. What are some of your memories? How did you suffer as a result of these pictures that you took on June 16?
Well, as I said, that I was there as a messenger, and I was prepared to die for any action that I take. I am a journalist. I do not go backwards, I go forward.
Yes.
Using my camera so that the world sees how apartheid works and how we are fighting apartheid.
What's the difference between you and the current crop of photojournalists?
No, I cannot speak for them because what happened then has not happened now. I cannot praise them nor say, you know, they are doing a bad job. No. All I say is that they are doing their journalistic work the way they are doing it.
Okay.
You know. I am not going to condemn them.
Okay.
I will talk about June 16, Sharpeville, and other places. Now, those of June 16, they had to flee the country because they could not take what the police were doing to them.
Now, Gacheni, would you rather be a black journalist in 1976 or in 2016?
Dr. Magubane is being very diplomatic. The quality of journalism has changed. You have to ask yourself, do black journalists today have the same agenda that the journalists in 1976 had? And the big answer is no. First of all, journalism should have transcended itself. We should be in a free mental state today as black journalists. We are not. We are still singing our master's voice. We are still articulating somebody else's agenda. Black people are more divided than they were in 1976, and journalists are preoccupied with mundane issues that have nothing to do with the liberation or the continuation of economic emancipation of our people. The popular journalism right now is the gossip and the yellow journalism of the ridiculous Sunday newspapers. And that's what journalists are engrossed in right now. We turned the journalism of the 70s around because those things existed even way back then. But as a collective of black journalists, we said, no, we cannot find ourselves articulating a white man's agenda. We need to work to bring black people together because it is not yet Uhuru. The struggle has not been attained. Today, black journalists have to find themselves articulating an agenda of development, an agenda of growth, not what they are preoccupied with.
Okay. Gacheni, unfortunately, we've run out of time. I can't even ask you to recite Rdoba Kunda, Rdoba Buraya. But Magubane, is the book available on the shelves?
It is available.
How much?
I don't know.
Okay, but it is available. Those who want it can get it.
It is available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and we wish you good health going further.
Thank you.
All right. That was question time for today. A big thank you to my guests and to you for watching the show. From me and the crew, you have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.